and I was coaching on yoga, mostly outside in the nature. I didn't want to be associated only with the physical. Also wanted to go for a holistic approach. So that's how I started going on mindset and coaching in general. So yeah, this was purely physical. And I was happy with the physical part. That was already enough benefit for me. And I didn't really feel any negative aspects on my health until I stopped actually practicing yoga. I'm going to sleep worse. I'm going to feel dehydrated next morning because I believe that self-awareness is one of the key aspects of solving the problem. And I was thinking, okay, I'm doing it because I'm guilty. And I continue doing it. Would I still enjoy eating those peanuts if I didn't feel guilty about eating them? So if you don't love yourself, if you don't like yourself, then you don't really want to become more aware. Even chewing, like a chewing gum is really awesome stress relief. And it's because it happens in the body, we can also hijack it like through the body. The problem is it only works while you chew. If your mind is saying there's a stress, and if your body says by chewing that there's no stress, it will only work as long as you chew because it needs this repetitive signal. So that's why comfort eating doesn't really work in the long term. Anything that raises heart rate helps a lot to deal with stress. That's why I would recommend first physical exercise, then breathing, and then meditation, depending how deep you want to go.
When I feel stressed, I feel like I have to deal with the problem first, the stress or the urgency. You feel like I shouldn't go for a walk, or I shouldn't take deep breaths.
What kind of sitting down? Your body is full of cortisol, it's full of those hormones. It needs to release that energy. And you're trying to release it by sitting down. So obviously, there's no getting rid of stress. You have to accept it's there. You have to have this acceptance. I'm going to have a relationship with myself because I have this body. I'm going to have some kind of relationship with my stress because I don't want to be bored. I don't want to be overwhelmed. So I want to be somewhere in the middle. And actually, that's where we perform on our best. Some call it flow state. Some call it peak state, where we love our stress, we love ourselves, and we accept what is.
Hi, Toms. Yeah, Toms is a mindset and yoga coach, and we have some really fun conversation about how to manage our stress. And then why don't you, Toms, introduce more about yourself and then how you started this, coaching people on stress management.
So yeah, my name is TOms. I'm originally from Latvia. However, at the moment I'm living in Canary Islands, which is part of Spain in Europe. And how I started is I started joining the classes of yoga here on a beach, and I practiced for a while. Then I fell in love with it. I started teaching it, and I was coaching on yoga, mostly outside in the nature. And over time, as I was developing and just discovering myself, I realized that there's something more I want to do. That actually want to do the coaching, and I want to also go for a mindset, not only the physical aspects. And because mostly people with the yoga, they relate only the asana part, which is only the physical exercise. I didn't want to be associated only with the physical. Also wanted to go for a holistic approach. So that's how I started going on mindset and coaching in general. And now I was struggling to develop it into the business and my career and my passion. I would keep looking online on tips how to do that. And everyone kept on saying you have to find a niche, you have to focus on a problem. And I was just searching what could be that thing, and I couldn't find it for a long time until I realized that actually stress management is one thing I'm struggling myself, and that's kind of a huge problem for everyone else. And I've been doing it myself for a long time with yoga, so that was the area I felt most comfortable, competent, and confident. So that's how I started with stress management in general.
So when you started to teach yoga or like learn yoga by yourself, what
Yeah.
was when you come in, was it just for physical as well, or you trick? Because yoga, I think, to my understanding, you have two parts. One is the physical part. The other part is actually the meditate, and then to bring you
Yeah.
to the present moment, right? So when you are just getting into yoga, was it just for the physical, or you come to already say, I want to learn how to calm my mind through yoga? What was that like at that time?
So at that time it was purely physical for fitness and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did plan in a future that I would love to learn meditation and calming the mind and getting in control of my mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it as a goal that I would love to do it, but at the moment, I was like putting it so up high on a pedestal that I wasn't imagining myself doing those kind of things. So I appreciated the aspect yoga had, this growth aspect into
Mm-hmm.
it, integrated. However, I didn't really feel any immediate light bulb moments, aha moments, so nothing like that happened to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
just, whenever we had savasana, final meditation pose, I was like laying there and just looking around and sometimes observing and didn't feel any like enlightenment. So I just, okay, no enlightenment, let's just rest for a while. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this was purely physical, and I was happy with the physical part. That was already enough benefit for
Mm-hmm.
me. So yeah.
Yeah, when you mentioned that you're doing yoga and more physically, and you feel like you want to do something more, which is more
Hmm.
moving to the mind part. To help people with stress is not really say, hey, go out for a walk. It's a trigger, but if we go out for a walk, they are not
Mm.
present. Their mind is still busy. It's not going to help, right? So how did you?
It's gonna help slightly.
Uh-huh.
I would disagree a bit. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna because there are two parts. Everything is connected,
Mm-hmm.
and if you take good care of your body for long enough,
Mm-hmm.
it will start influencing also the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, of course, if you're really persistent and insist on keeping that mind busy,
Yeah.
it will not help tremendously.
Yeah.
However, taking care of the body, going for a walk will help to relieve the physical symptoms of stress. So partly it does actually help to go for a walk,
Mm-hmm.
even if you just even if your mind is still busy. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword here.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's not say zero help. It's that combined
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
with
It
the
will not solve the problem, but it will
mm-hmm.
help.
Mm-hmm.
Let's state it like that.
Yeah. Sounds good. So when you were moving to the mind, um, what does that process look like? And you were mentioning you are looking for the leash, and then you find that
Hmm.
stress management seems to be a big problem, and you also seeing yourself dealing how you deal with that. Maybe tell us what's your old pattern before you discover before you reveal your secret of stress management. What was that look like before, and how you use your the saying that the method you are teaching, and how does that impact your life?
So the biggest impact I can remember now is that I was doing yoga for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really consistent, and I always had all kinds of other stressing factors,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really feel any negative aspects on my health
Mm-hmm.
until I stopped actually practicing yoga. And then I had inflammation and I got sick. And so yeah, basically what I was doing, I still had my mindset problems. I still had my bad habits. I was struggling with comfort eating and all kinds of other stuff. However, because I was doing so much physical practice of yoga,
Mm-hmm.
releasing stress from my body regularly,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel any bad health. However, once I stopped doing yoga because I had this idea that I want to do coaching more than yoga,
Mm-hmm.
I stopped practicing most of the yoga practice, asana, and I did start getting weaker, sicker, and I did notice the effect the stress has on my body.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the switching point to the biggest impact. How I noticed that, yeah, I'm actually quite stressed because after reflecting on the back, why did I get sick? What happened? I was observing, getting conscious. What's happened? Why is it happening for me? What's the cause? Because I know everything is related. And then I realized, yeah, actually I'm having all these bad habits, and they actually do stack up. And only because I'm not doing the same thing. The only thing that changed was I'm not doing yoga anymore. So yeah.
Tell us one of the bad habits that you notice yourself doing it again and again, and actually add your stress.
So yeah, one of my bad habits that I used to have was when I'm kind of feeling not done enough for the day, or I still feel like, okay, day is almost over and there's still like 20 things I want to do and it's not enough. I feel stressed and I feel like reaching for some snacks. And because I do have a standard to myself, those not that bad. However, I compensate with eating them too much. So in my case, they were peanuts. So one of those habits was whenever I feel like having that late night stress, and I'm completely aware that eating that late when I'm especially not hungry is not good for my body. Those salty peanuts, they taste good. They have salt inside, they have fat inside, and they really serve as a comfort food. And I'm completely aware I'm gonna sleep worse. I'm gonna feel dehydrated next morning, and I'm gonna probably ruin the next day slightly, at least the morning bit of it. So that was one of my bad habits I had, eating late night peanuts. And actually, I have a story to relate to this one. How I actually observed and overcame that habit to a degree, to the most degree. And the story is that one of those times, because I believe that self-awareness is one of the key aspects of solving the problem. That one of those times when I was having this stress, having this urge to eat those peanuts, I still continued doing it. So basically I was eating peanuts and I just started slowing down. And I started observing what's happening, why I'm eating this peanut. I took one, put it in my mouth, and observing the feelings, observing the sensations, and trying to figure out, do I enjoy it? What's happening? And why I'm doing it? And as I was eating it, there was this point when I kind of felt like, okay, I have enough salt, I have enough fat, and I'm getting quite full. My stomach doesn't really want. And I started feeling that I don't feel any pleasure from eating it. And what I noticed is that I start, instead of having this immediate gratification of pleasure, I started creeping guilt into the picture. So I started feeling guilty of eating those peanuts. And as I was eating them and I was observing the growing sense of guilt that I'm going against myself, I'm damaging myself, my body. And I was thinking, okay, I'm doing it because I'm guilty. And I continued doing it, and I kind of felt this kind of a voice or kind of this urge to continue doing it because I felt guilty. So I kind of because sometimes we hear those stories from psychotherapies, psychologists that have these voices inside, they have these urges, there's a good side, bad side, and they start observing there's this bad character, this archetype, name it how you want it, and he actually wants me to continue this bad behavior to feed the guilt feeling. And then I was thinking, okay, I have this feeling of guilt. What do I do about it? And over time, I came to ask, because it wasn't like in one day, like this pattern repeated many times, and I was many times observing these things. And one evening, as I was doing this observation exercise, I came to the question which I asked myself, would I still enjoy eating those peanuts? Would I still want to eat them if I didn't feel guilty about eating them? So I asked the question, if I didn't feel guilt of eating them, but continued eating them without guilt, would it make any difference whatsoever? And I then started not feeling guilty about eating it. So I kind of I slowed down the process. I still kept eating, but I try to get not really feeling guilty about it anymore. And suddenly I didn't really want to eat those peanuts anymore. And just for making sure, I ate a couple more. And finally, I just stopped eating them because like it makes no sense to keep eating those peanuts because I don't feel any pleasure anymore, and I don't even feel the guilt anymore. So I don't have this urge anymore. So like, okay, it's enough. I go do something else. So this is like an interesting story.
It is. I can see the same thing happening in me again and again. Is we all have a default response when we feel stressed or feel guilty. You know,
Yeah,
the emotion hit us, and then when you feel guilty or you feel stressed, your way is to eat peanuts, and my way is sleep or watch Netflix. But the thing
yeah,
is that when you do that, you blame yourself more. It's like, hey, I have so much
exactly.
stress I need to deal with. I have so many problems I need to deal with. Like now I am watching TV, I'm doing things not good for my body. And then you blame yourself more. That's adding more stress to you, right? And then you want to
Yeah,
eat more. So it's a really,
exactly. Loop.
I really, yeah, appreciate that you bring up that inside of, if you don't blame yourself, stop blaming yourself, feeling guilty, you actually don't have that crave anymore because that emotion is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, and then you and I talked about before the Instagram live. You mentioned that you have the three things you mentioned to me about the stress management, being present, and love yourself,
hmm
and enjoying your stress. That's a big
Yeah.
secret that we are revealing today. So tell us more about that.
So yeah, the first step is being aware, and the best way of being aware is being present
Mm-hmm.
to the what's happening with your body, with your emotions. And the thing I've noticed is that if you don't love yourself, you don't really want to become aware of what's inside of you. You don't want to be aware of these facts. So everything is kind of linked because, as I said, if you don't like the car or some person on the street, let's say you see some person with some illness, some people just shy away from this person. You don't really want to look. If you see some trash, you don't really want to spend around your time around looking at the trash. You don't like it, so you don't really want to spend your attention and awareness on these things you don't like. So the same thing happens with yourself. So if you don't love yourself, if you don't like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't really want to become more aware. So it's kind of again, a circle, a loop.
Mm-hmm.
You can start any side where you want, bringing more awareness or bringing more self-love. But as you bring more self-love, as you start taking care of yourself, even physically or mentally, or start appreciating yourself, affirmations, you generally want to see, oh, there's something good inside of me. I want to see more of it. And as
Mm-hmm.
you start developing this relationship with yourself, it starts growing exponentially because as you love yourself more, you want to become more of yourself. And as you want to become more of yourself, you start noticing those bit small kinks you have, some imperfections you might improve. And as you start noticing them, you actually have power over overcoming them. And that's how it relates to stress. And as you continue this journey, you start noticing yourself getting stressed sooner,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can sooner get rid of the negative side effects.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yeah.
relates really well to the my main message: love your stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Something
if
else,
you know,
or give any feedback? How do you see this relationship in your life? Of
I uh, I really like that you brought that relationship because for a long time I couldn't figure out. We will always think, hey, you need to be aware of your mind. But
hmm
I did see the saying you mentioned about if you love yourself enough, you will be more interested in finding what's going on in your mind. Because
Yeah.
if you don't love yourself, because what I find that the self-awareness is really tricky, because a lot of time, people just say, hey, you need to be aware of yourself. However, if every time you are aware of your thoughts, like negative thoughts, you blame yourself. You say, hey, why do you think this way? You did so many coaching, you did so many self-growth. Why do you still think this way? Like, you're just not good enough. If that's your response, like the self-hatred or not, not enough self-love, you actually demotivate yourself from being aware, because you don't want to find out the truth. You feel like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
bad so I really like that it kind of it happens in my life as well. And right now I think, since you brought up that perspective, it is, really true that if you love yourself more, you actually are more willing to develop the self-awareness, because then you just say, hey, I have growth. Yeah, I have this thought pattern, it keep bring me stress. However, now I'm aware of it, therefore I can grow out of it, instead of blaming yourself for failing that way. It is true so much. And then do you have any way, what do you usually do to help yourself bring yourself back to present? Let's say you have a really stressful day, and then what do you I know there are so many, people say you need to be present, but sometimes might be a small action or that trigger, so you can start it to bring yourself back. So what do you usually do?
So it depends on the situation and options I have. Like if I'm stressed and I feel like I need to finish the task, I want to have to do it. Like I have this feeling I have to do this thing. I might go for some stimulation and comfort eating, just to get to relieve the physical symptoms as I'm pushing myself through the task. If I'm not able to physically disconnect with this thing, that's one way of doing it. A bit healthier way would be chewing, because chewing is like really release stress. So you don't really need to eat anything. Even chewing, like a chewing gum, is really awesome stress relief medicine. So that's one way of doing it.
Why is that? Is it because the sensation? So you feel like you are touching something, therefore you kind of engage your sense, or is it like, do you know why?
It's physical. It's purely physical. Like because you can look at it, because stress is a fight and flight reaction to the body. So body, and it's because it happens in the body, we can also hijack it, like through the body. And so as you feel danger, as you feel sense of urgency, which is stress, it activates this fight and flight mode, which is basically activating your reptilian brain, which is automatic, and it takes over of your body, releases cortisol, chemicals in your body, hormones. And as these things happen, your body is starting getting flooded with the cortisol, and starting to run automatically. So you get less focus, less rational thinking, and chewing is actually sending a signal to your body, or like it's got kind of contradictory signal, because when you're eating, it sends that you're safe, because it's not a survival function eating. It sends the signal to your body, oh, I have these stress hormones inside of my body. They're flooding. I kind of have to be stressful, so I have to organize my brain that switch to the flight and flight. However, there's the other signal coming in which says that I'm eating. That means I'm safe, and everything's fine. So that's why chewing is one of the ways how to deal with the stress temporarily. Because the problem is, it only works while you chew. If your mind is saying there's a stress, and if your body says by chewing that there's no stress, it will only work as long as you chew because it needs this repetitive signal. So that's why comfort eating doesn't really work in the long term. It only works as long as you keep on doing action. And the same principle goes for walking. That's another thing I'm doing. When I have time, I will go for a walk or even a run because then I can get my blood pumping and get those hormones flooded out of my system faster, get them processed. Physical exercise, any kind of physical exercise, going to gym, running, anything that raises heart rate helps a lot to deal with stress. And if I'm not able to do this, I usually do it after, like, okay, I finish a task and then I do it after. Ideally, if I can, I would take a break and finish the task afterwards when I have more resources on my brain. Like, why would I keep on stressing myself and keep pushing myself on a task which I'm not able to deal with now? Because I'm like working at 20% of my performance because of the stress, because of all the chemicals going in. So the most efficient way actually is taking a break, going for a run, walk, physical exercise, push-ups, whatever works for you, jumping jacks, whatever works for you to get your blood running, get your physical body getting rid of the stress, getting yourself calm again, going for a walk, maybe meditation, breathing, a good way of doing it. So because then it engages, and it's also another hack of hijacking your brain because breathing is usually automatic. However, we can make it conscious. So breathing is one of the best techniques to use. However, sometimes it's a bit hard to do because you're so stressed and your body actually physically needs to release the physical tension. So that's why I would recommend first physical exercise, then breathing, and then meditation, depending how deep you want to go. So that would be the chain, how to get like, depending on how much stressed you are, like physical, breathing, meditation, relaxation. So that's, and then you can solve the problems, whatever problems you have, because you're already in a peak performance again.
I can see that work. However, I think we come to the beginning of when we were talking about you teach people physical technique need to combine with a mindset shift. A lot of time we feel that, for example, this is me. When I feel stressed, I feel like I have to deal with the problem first so that I can go for a walk or I can go, meditate or I can enjoy. But the thing is that we didn't realize, if you are focused, if I have a problem, I usually sit down and I say, I want to sit down right now and then find a solution. However, because of stress, your brain like maybe function at 10% or 20%. But, and then because of that the strength or the urgency, you feel like I shouldn't go for a walk. Or I shouldn't take deep breaths, because you don't have that. If you combine with the mindset shift, and also, I think if you do multiple times, try when you feel a little bit stressed, and then try that walk, and then notice that it actually brings you so much. Sometimes physical actions change your mindset as well. So it's kind of, both hand in hand. Yeah. That's
exactly.
That's really good. I never know chewing can do. I think maybe sometimes that's why, when you feel stressed, you stood up and then, getting something in your stomach actually helps you calm down. And I really like you mentioned about the breath, because usually I find that when I'm stressed, my breath is usually shallow. However, if I take a deep breath and just focus on that breath, it can bring me back to the present more as well.
Yes, that sometimes you don't want to get back to the present. So if you directly say that you're gonna breathe deeply, you get more anxious and you get the opposite reaction because your body is fighting it. So as I said, that's why not always, it will work if you do it, but it will not sometimes be sufficient if you're already been in stress so long. So if you physically start running, your body actually needs oxygen more, so you will automatically start breathing deeper. So you will not need to push yourself and generate more stress by trying to fight stress. And that's why I say you need to love your stress. Because once you're stressed and you try to fight it with force yourself into the actions, like sometimes people hear, okay, I'm stressed and I need to meditate. And then they force themselves to sit down, deep breathing. What kind of sitting down? Your body is full of cortisol, it's full of those hormones. It needs to release that energy. You're like activated, you're ready to run. You have so much energy unused and it needs to be released. And you're trying to release it by sitting down. Like, yeah, it will work after like probably 20 minutes once you calm down and find this breathing and everything. But sometimes it's just faster and just go for a run and then you do the physical part. So yeah, that's why you need to love your stress.
We're coming to the end of the interview, but I really want to highlight, I think it's because probably my personal experience there, I really want at the end highlight the self-love part. I think maybe this is my guess or my thought or my theory, and see what you think. I find that when we feel because of there are so many coaching or so many self-development, self-growth, so many resources out there, we are not giving us a break when we feel stressed, because we feel like, hey, we know so much techniques. There's yoga, there's meditation, there's so many things out there, but we don't use it. And as soon as we feel, of course, stress, because you have challenges, or your thoughts in your mind. But as soon as we feel stressed, we blame ourselves. We say, we shouldn't feel stressed because we know so much how to deal with stress. So do you see self-love or self-acceptance saying, hey, I feel stressed right now, I'm aware of it, and I know, all this problem I have the right to feel stress. However, after that, after you accepting it, it's your choice to say, do I want to stay in this stress forever and then maybe, causing more stress in my life? Or do I choose to use those techniques right now to relieve my stress so I can, feel better? Is that what you see as well?
Completely. It's 100% because everything is basic. When you look at it from psychological point of view, everything is your relationship with yourself. So if you start noticing that you're stressed and you don't do anything, that means you're going against yourself and damaging yourself, and you're doing opposite of loving yourself. However, if you notice that, okay, there's a stress, and past I had this behavior of letting the stress rule over me, and every moment is an opportunity, is a choice you can make and change your behavior. And like any moment, even now or now, you can change your behavior and decide, okay, from now on, I will love myself a bit more. So, and then as you start accepting idea that actually, yeah, I would love to love myself a bit more, you start taking those actions. You start wanting to take those actions. To notice the stress, and you start wanting to take proactive action to relieve stress. And it's a journey. It's a journey of never-ending increase in self-love, self-awareness, and because stress is also a relationship. If we don't have any stress in our lives, we get bored, and life is boring, and you just stay in a bed the whole day. If you have too much stress, you have overwhelmed. You get anxious, you burn out and get diseases. And we all know the stress is one of the most dangerous psychological mental health issue in the world. So obviously, there's no getting rid of stress. You have to accept it's there. You have to have this acceptance. I'm gonna have a relationship with myself because I have this body. I'm gonna have some kind of relationship with my stress because I don't want to be bored. I don't want to be overwhelmed. So I want to be somewhere in the middle. And actually, that's where we perform on our best. Some call it flow state. Some call it peak state. There's many words how to label it, but most of us want to be that middle, sweet spot where we love our stress, we love ourselves, and we accept what is in the present. So we are present.
Thank you, Tom. This conversation has been really, really helpful for myself because I see a lot of things that, you know, it's almost like validate by you that, I find something works to deal with stress, that continue doing it. And then you have validated a lot of my my personal experience. And then I really like, you know, the physical techniques you brought up, chewing or going for a run, going for a walk, and then, maybe go deeper, deep breath and meditate. And also a lot of mindset shift about how we view stress. Instead of saying, hey, we need to fight stress, it's actually how we build a healthy relationship with it. Not too much, not too little. It's in a sweet spot of, I have enough challenge in my life and I feel happy, working through this. Thank you so much. And how do people, thank you for everybody joining. I think this topic has been really, really interesting for all the people joining. So if people want to contact with you, how do they find more about you?
Well, they can find me if they just check my Instagram profile. There's a link in the description. They can send me DM directly, or they can follow the link in the description, which brings to my website with other social media handles there. So if they would like to connect with me, I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. So yeah, just check my profile, check the link in the bio, or just send me a DM here on Instagram. And be present.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate you being here today. Super helpful and super helpful tips and insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minna.
Thank you. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you everyone
Have a nice
for
day.
joining. Have a nice day.